Welcome, everybody, to The World is a Mess, and I Just Want to Steampunk It. This is episode 30, and I'm your host, Steampunk Starraisin. And I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Burtison. You're in Bellwood, Ontario, and I'm in North Hollywood, California.
Yes, I'm in Bellwood, Ontario. Today is Sunday, July 11th, 2021.
So how's everything going with you, Daniel?
Oh, better. Actually, me and my mom are starting to have good days again.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I had something very scary happen to me. I'll briefly mention this.
What happened? Are you okay?
Yeah, there was a couple of cops that knocked on my door, and I was freaking out because I was like, why the hell are they knocking on my door? Are they here to evict me? Are they here to arrest me? So I looked through the people, and it was two LAPD officers. And apparently there was some drama in the apartment complex. I'm not going to say where I'm at in North Hollywood, but at a random apartment in North Hollywood, the apartment that I live at, there was some drama where somebody got assaulted on one of the upper floors. And they said, did I see a strange guy? Did I see or hear anything unusual? And I was like, no, because I usually keep to myself. So, yeah.
They weren't rude or anything?
No, they weren't rude. They had their pen and paper. They had like a little notepad. They were going to take notes. But
because usually in my experience, cops are very rude, and they're very rude, and God help you if you return the favor, because if you return the favor, if they're rude to you, it's okay, but if you're rude to them, they go crazy.
No, they weren't rude. It just caught me off guard. I was like, hey, I have no weapons. I thought you were here for me. But they weren't. So, and I talked to one of my neighbors on a cell phone, and apparently one person got arrested. Earlier today, there was a bunch of cop cars in front of my apartment, and one person got assaulted and carried off in a gurney on an ambulance. So apparently the person was severely injured, and so that's why they were doing an investigation. Usually if it's just like a bitch slap kind of thing, they're not going to do an investigation for petty assault, not for the most part. But if it's severe, like attempted murder or somebody's severely injured where they have to go to the hospital, then they'll often do an investigation. So, but yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, anyway, so we were talking off camera. You were telling me about you had gone to Cuba when you were 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you go to Cuba? Why did you go to Cuba?
Well, because our friends invited us, and it was an all expenses paid trip, and we didn't pay anything. Our friends paid for us, and
friends of your mom, or
yeah, friends of my mom and my dad, and yeah, because my dad works with a guy and at work, and the guy invited us to Cuba one summer. This was before grade 6, and I remember when I went to Cuba, the first time I stepped off the plane. Oh my God, it was so hot. It was.
Well, it's in the tropics, so it makes sense.
It's like near the equator, right? So it's one of those hot.
Closer
countries.
To the equator. It's not like right on it, but it's closer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember the first time I got off the plane, I wanted to go home. I was like, you know what? I'm going back on the plane. I want to go home right away because I can't take it here. But I had to stay there, and but I'm kind of glad I did because, when they told me I was going to go to a hotel, I thought at the time, I thought all the hotels were like the first hotel I ever saw was the hotel in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Okay. The Plaza Hotel in New York.
Yeah.
Wait, does Trump still own that?
Not a clue.
Yeah. Well, fun fact.
Hold on, my girlfriend's calling. Mm-hmm. Hello, I'm in the middle of a podcast asking Daniel about Cuba, but we're live, right? What's going on? Can I put it off?
Are you live right now?
I am live right now. You're being recorded. You want to be a part of my podcast?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I just.
Sorry, Daniel, are you still there? Okay, slow down, Ann, slow down. Okay, hold on, Daniel. I'll ask you more about Cuba later. My girlfriend's having some mama drama problems, and.
Oh no, go ahead and continue. I'll be a part of the discussion.
So, are you walking to Starbucks? Where are you?
I think I'm gonna walk to like Del Taco to get some food.
Where are you right now?
I'm walking in my neighborhood in Los Angeles.
So you're out of your house.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me finish asking Daniel about Cuba because this is a first-hand reference to Cuba.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, so you said that you went to a hotel in Cuba. What was the name of the hotel?
I forgot. But oh my God, I thought it was like the Plaza. I thought every hotel was like the Plaza Hotel.
Well, that's only in the movies. That's only in the movies.
So then when I got there, I was disappointed because I was like, I had a very small room, and it was really hot. There was no air conditioning. It was one of those cheap hotels, and
okay.
It really pissed me off, and I was complaining the whole night because it was so hot, and I wasn't used to that kind of heat because I live in Canada, and but I got used to it, and I liked walking on the beach at night. It was very nice and cool on the beach at night, and
so the beaches were nice.
Yeah, and there was free food everywhere. Free food on the beach. Free drink. I got like a pina colada, and it's really good. And,
what year was this?
I think it was like 1990. No, wait. It was 2000, actually. It was the year 2000.
Okay.
And it was
so
really cool.
Fidel Castro was still the president of Cuba at that time.
Yeah.
But so there was a lot of free food. The beaches were really nice. Was the hotel run down? Was the hotel in good shape? You said
it wasn't really run down, but it wasn't the best quality either.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have European or Western sensibilities who tend to be a little bit spoiled.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it was in good shape. It didn't have air conditioning, which kind of sucked because it's hot and humid.
Yeah.
But you know, and they had free food, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
What really did you see? Any other anything on? What city were you in Cuba?
I think it was Varadero.
Okay, so you didn't go to Havana?
We could have gone to Havana. I'm not sure. It was a while. We went on trips, walk-on trips where everybody had to walk here and walk there and stuff. And oh my God, it was so hot. And
what was the name of the city again?
Habanero.
What now?
I think it was Habanero.
Habanero. I'll have to look that up. But so you didn't like the hotel, but the free food was nice and the beaches were nice. What kind of stuff did you see while you were there?
Well, okay. First, most of the time I spent in the gaming room because that was the only place that was air conditioned in the entire hotel. So I was like in the gaming room playing a Twisted Metal because they had Twisted Metal on PlayStation there. And I remember there was like these two kids always coming to me. And they were looking at me and they wanted to play the game. And I'm like, listen, we didn't speak language, right? Because they spoke Cuban and I spoke English. So we didn't understand each other. But they were always kind of like, like they were just looking at me and kind of telling me with their facial expressions, like, hey, we want to play the game. And I'm like, listen, I'm playing the game right now. Could you wait a second? And then they got their dad. And their dad, really rude piece of crap. He looked at me with a stupid smile on his face, and he turned off the machine.
What video game console was this again?
PlayStation.
Okay, this was like a PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like he looked at me with a stupid smile on his face. He turned off the machine, and then he just told me with his hands, "Get lost. My kids want to play." And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, no, I'm not going. But then I left anyways because I was like, whatever, I mean. And that was
slow down for a second, Daniel. So
Yeah.
this was a PlayStation at a place in Cuba, or was this a
Yes.
PlayStation you had brought with you?
No, it was a PlayStation at Cuba.
What location was this PlayStation located?
It was in the gaming room.
The gaming room of the hotel?
Yeah.
Oh, they had a gaming room. Okay. I'm just trying to be clear because you just like went right into PlayStation, and I was trying to understand the context because context is everything.
Yeah.
So interesting. They in 2000 had PlayStations in Cuba. Interesting.
Yeah, I was like really surprised when I found it, and I liked it. It was pretty nice, and yeah, and then like like I said, later on, I went swimming I went swimming at the beach, and then at night walking around. All right, bye bye. Walking around, and there was like these hammocks, right, with lots of with a buffet underneath it. It was really great. Me and my mom and my dad went there one time, and there was like this big tub of dip, right, where people can go and they can get dip, right, for their crackers and their food and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to get dip, but then my parents stopped me and said, "No, don't get that dip. There was a big butterfly in it," right? And that was disgusting. I'm just like, no, I'm not going to eat that. Thank you for telling me. And
but butterflies are sweet. Maybe it might have tasted sweet.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know where that butterfly's been though. But also they had these hammocks.
The butterflies, they always hang out with the unicorns. Okay, I'm just messing with you. So go ahead.
Yeah. So they had these hammocks on the beach, and I lied on one of the hammocks, and it was nighttime under the stars, lying on a hammock on the beach, and I could hear the waves, and it was beautiful, man. And oh man, I liked it. And then the next day, I remember sitting on the beach, and they gave me some Cuban Coke, and it was like a special kind of Coke.
Coca-Cola?
No, it was like some kind of a Cuban Coke. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like one of their own.
But it was just a soda.
Yeah, it was a soda.
Okay. Because when you say Coke, I'm like, cocaine? Okay, so soda. Okay, go ahead.
It was so sugary. It was so good.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually put more sugar in their stuff than we do.
So contrary to popular belief, Cuba is not really that poor. They have really well-maintained hotels. They have PlayStations. This is why Fidel Castro is still president. They have a really good tourism industry. They have nice beaches. They have lots of free food, and it's good food. Do you like the food there?
Oh, yeah, it was really good. I was always in the kitchen eating omelets. They made the best omelets.
And they make really good omelets. Awesome.
With
And
salsa.
what other stuff did you do besides just hang out in the game room and eat food?
Walk the beach and I sit around that area mostly, and then sometimes we go on for a walk and stuff, and
So I guess your experience proves that Cuba is not as bad as a lot of people in America say it is.
Yeah, not really.
It's just hot and humid, and you stayed in a cheap hotel that didn't have air conditioning, which kind of sucked. You weren't used to, but you did have fun because they had a game room with PlayStations in which you were able to play. They had tons of free food, and the beaches were nice, and you had overall. Did you have fun on that trip? On a scale of 1 to 10,
great.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your trip to Cuba?
I would say probably a 9. The only problem is it was way too
a 9.
hot.
Okay, go ahead.
And the hotel was a little bit, not the best quality. And but you know what? Here's an interesting thing. On the way.
Well, let me tell you something, man. Here in LA, we have hotels like I've stayed at the Hollywood Roxy, which is a cheap hotel that's a rundown dump, but I only stay there because it's cheap. And they have no air conditioning. And during the summertime, it can often get hot and humid and uncomfortable. So people who like to criticize Cuba as being like, a lot of, there's a lot of conservatives in America that like do video vlogs, and they've even taken trips to Cuba and try to say, look at Cuba, it's like a third world country, but it's not. You said it was actually pretty nice, and you rated your vacation on a scale of 1 to 10 and 9. So
Mhm.
you had a pretty good experience there.
Yeah.
You just were in a cheaper hotel with no air conditioning.
But then, on the way home, I remember our plane, like one of the engines broke. One of the engines actually fell to the ground and it broke down.
Oh, geez, that sounds
And
scary.
yeah, it did. And like I was thinking to myself, like what if one of the engines broke when we were on the plane? Then we would have been screwed, right? So like so like the engine broke down, but we were still in the line to go onto the plane. So what they did was they were like, well, it's going to take a day to fix the plane. So they gave us a free stay at Best Western Hotel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was so hot. But so
Best
hot.
Western Hotel where, though?
It was in
Was this still in Cuba?
yeah.
Where?
It was, in the same place.
In Bordero. Okay.
Yeah, in Varadero.
Baradero. Okay.
So yeah,
So they actually had Best Westerns back then, and was it a really nice hotel with air
oh,
conditioning?
believe me, it was so nice. It was very nicely. It was like a 5-star hotel, very nicely air conditioned. It was like the Enterprise D inside of it. It was beautiful.
It was like the Enterprise D. Okay, so that's pretty nice. If it was like the Enterprise D. So, and that's everything you did in Cuba?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I think your story is important is you're a first-hand source. I've never been to Cuba. There's a lot of conservative propaganda. There's a lot of propaganda in the United States that Cuba is like a third world country, and it's so worse, much worse since Fidel Castro took over. And Fidel Castro is no longer in power because he's passed away, and his brother is no longer in power. There's some other guy that's in power now. I can't remember his name. And
when did Fidel Castro pass away?
Oh, it was a few years ago. 2016. He passed away in 2016, but I think he stepped down from power like a year before that. Oh wait, he stepped down from power in 2011 because he was in declining health. His brother took over, and then his brother stepped down because of declining health. So the Castros are not even in power anymore. I mean, it's still ruled by the Communist Party, but that's amazing to me that they actually had a Best Western hotel that was really nice, really clean, really well maintained, had air conditioning. So you stayed in a cheap hotel that had no air conditioning, and then later, because there was a problem with the plane, they gave you a free night stay at a Best Western, and it was a really nice hotel. And there was, tons of free food. They had PlayStations. This goes against, there's conservatives who try to say that Cuba is like a rundown third world country and that it's so much worse since Castro took over. And I disagree. I think Castro actually made Cuba better, not worse. I mean, Castro wasn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't a perfect leader. He sometimes bordered on being authoritarian, but he didn't run his country into the ground. He actually made it better, and it was better than Batista, because I remember looking at a book and reading a book, and it showed pictures of downtown Havana in the 50s when Batista was in power, and it was a bunch of shanty towns and people living in shacks. And then when Castro took over, you no longer had people in shanty towns living in shacks. Everybody had a home.
Mm-hmm.
They made sure that everybody had a home and everybody had food. They may not have access to the best medical technology because of U.S. sanctions. And to me, the U.S. sanctions are criminal because all it does is it hurts the civilians, or hurts the general populace of Cuba. It doesn't actually help. And it's kind of ridiculous. It's time to end the Cold War in Cuba. But yeah, thank you for your input on that, because that's really important to let people know that, hey, you can stay at a Best Western in Cuba. They have Best Westerns there, and they have air conditioning and modern amenities. They have PlayStations. You know, this is not what you think of when you think of Cuba based on all the American propaganda.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got about 9 minutes left in our podcast, and I want to do an update with Ann. So, Ann, are you still there? Ann, hello? Hello?
I'm at Del Taco ordering. I have you on mute.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you know when I'm done. I'm going to have it on mute because I know you're doing a podcast.
Okay, I got about 9 minutes left. All right. Anyway, I was going to ask her about her mama drama, but she's at Del Taco trying to get away from her mom because her mom was being physically abusive because they got into a petty argument over the kitchen. It's really stupid. So I told Ann, my girlfriend, to just leave. I was like, just leave, blow off some steam, go, walk to Starbucks or something. So she's walking to Del Taco and she's ordering some food to kill some time. But anyway, anything else on your mind? We got about 8 minutes left.
So did you see the Loki episode?
Yeah, I saw Loki episode 5. We still don't know who the timekeepers are. I guess the timekeepers were never real. We still don't know who controls the time variance authority. The rumor is Kang, but Jonathan Masters is not listed in the credits on the IMDb page for Loki. Now, IMDb is not always 100% accurate, but I don't know. They may be keeping it under wraps. They may be keeping it secret. But there's another character who could be in charge of the Time Variance Authority. I think there's a Marvel character. I think he's called like the Old One at the End of Time, or the Elder One.
He who remains.
What?
He's called He Who Remains.
He Who Remains. So it may be just He Who Remains. That's what I have a feeling, that it may not be Kang the Conqueror. It may be He Who Remains, because the Time Variance Authority, they're in a loop. And since that region of space and time is at the end of time, at the end of the universe, it's probably He Who Remains, and he sends people back in time to the beginning of time to create the Time Variance Authority so that he can ensure that he continues to exist in a non-linear loop with the birth destruction cycle of the universe.
Okay, I'm done ordering.
Okay, we were talking about Loki episode 5.
Oh, I just watched it.
You just watched it? What did you think?
Yes. I kind of don't know what to think because I'm not super familiar with Marvel, but I liked it.
Well, we still don't know who we know that the timekeepers are fake. We still don't know who's in charge of the Time Variance Authority. And the big rumor on the internet right now is it's Kang the Conqueror. And Marvel Studios has confirmed that Jonathan Masters is playing Kang the Conqueror. But he's not listed in the credits for Loki, so I wonder if it's He Who Remains, because in the comics, He Who Remains, he is the real hand in charge of the Time Variance Authority, because the way the Time Variance Authority works is the timekeepers lived at the end of time, at the end of the universe, and they were really old, and the universe was about to collapse because the universe goes through a birth destruction cycle. And so what they did was they sent people back in time to the beginning of time to create the Time Variance Authority so that way they can ensure their own existence. And the reason why they constantly prune the timeline is that the timekeepers and He Who Remains, they want to ensure their existence, and they don't want anything to interfere with their existing. So they destroy alternate timelines.
They don't want to. Yeah, they pretty much prevent other universes from existing because they don't want to. They don't want to compete with themselves.
Yeah, they don't want to compete with themselves.
And Loki's pretty cool. I mean, there's certain more. There's certain Marvel superheroes I get drawn into. I guess. I mean, I was pretty fascinated with Morbius for a while there, the vampire one from Spider-Man. Oh yeah, and also Green Goblin from Spider-Man is pretty awesome, and Hobgoblin, all of them. But,
Well,
no,
Morbius.
thank you. I don't want any hot sauce.
Well, Morbius is the movie is supposed to be coming out, I think, in 2022. When is Morbius supposed to be coming out, Daniel?
January.
Yeah, January 2022. I know they released a trailer for that movie in 2019, and it's already filmed, but because of COVID, it delayed the release by like 2 years. But yeah, they're supposed to come out with a Morbius movie. What do you think about that, Cam?
Yeah, I'm not hyped about it because I don't think that they got the right actor for the part.
I agree. He did a terrible job playing the Joker.
Leto? Yeah, he did Joker. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was not good. Yeah, it was not good. Who's the most recent guy to play the Joker? Like Joaquin Phoenix, I think.
Joaquin Phoenix did a great job.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix did a much better job. I mean, you could just see it, you know.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is a method actor, but yeah, he gets totally embodied in the role, and you can see it, and it's very sincere, and it's much more believable that he's a character. Where Jared Leto is very superficial in his acting, and it just didn't work for me. He did a terrible job portraying the Joker. I'm glad that they brought in Joaquin Phoenix. I know that they're supposed to do the second Joker. Anyway, so we're down to 3 minutes. Daniel, do you have any last opinions or anything you want to ask Ann, or anything you want to ask me, or anything else that's on your mind?
Oh, did you hear that? They released the Batman and Robin symbol from Batman and Robin. They released it when they were like saying something about the Flash movie, and people are saying they're hinting at Chris O'Donnell coming back as Robin because that was his Robin symbol.
Who knows? As long as it's a good story. I hated Batman and Robin, as you already know. I thought it was the worst Batman movie. It's too cheesy.
And that was my first Batman movie I ever bought. And I loved it.
I know.
I was like 10 years old at the time, and I loved it. I watched it over and over and over and over. And then,
I love that he's having a good day.
Oh,
I'm not having a good day, man.
I'm sorry you're not having a good day. So, Ann's asking me if you're having a good day. She can't hear you from my end because I got my headphones on.
Yeah, I'm having a good day. It's getting better.
Well, that's good.
Chris, I gave you a really cool video. It's on YouTube. Batman and Robin had a 19.
Okay, go ahead, Daniel. We got 1 minute.
Batman and Robin had a 1949 serial. I gave it to you on Skype if you want to watch it.
I will watch it. I will check it out, and I'll let you know next time we do another podcast, or I'll let you know next time I talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fascinating to see things from this era.
Well, yeah, I think the original. There was a Batman in the 40s that was filmed, like 1943, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the Batman comics date from the 1930s, but they did the first serial. Serials were like a precursor to television. Before you had television, that was like the equivalent to a TV show. And these would be short little films that would play before the main film. But we'll talk more about this next time. We are out of time. This is Steampunk Starraisin of AmberStreet.com. You have a nice day, and I will see you again 25 billion years. I will.
Bye.
Okay, is it done?